See, there's this thing called slope. There are two ways that it's expressed. It's the rise over run. It's the change in y, the change in x. Let's see slope y-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Oh my, the relationship between x and y depends on the constants m and b. M you see is the value of the slope, so a higher m means a steeper line. B is the y-intercept where the line crosses the axis of y. Now there's this thing called slope. There are two ways that it's expressed. It's the rise over run. It's the change in y over the change in x. Slope is the rise over run. Na 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 na. Slope is the rise over run.
Well, welcome back, Algebra 1 students. We're here with Big Ideas Curriculum, Chapter 4. Writing linear functions is Chapter 4. And as you can see, we have 7 sections in Chapter 4. And so the main part of Chapter 4 is kind of the first 3, where we're looking at going back to linear functions. We're writing them. We're writing equations in slope-intercept, point-slope form, and then looking at some parallel and perpendicular lines there in 3. Then we get into some other things also kind of pertaining a little bit to some linear functions as well. So we do need to go back and remember what we learned with slope, y-intercept, point slope, or slope-intercept form with y equals mx plus b, all of that, just like the video was just kind of reminding us a little bit. So here we go into section 4.1. We're writing equations in slope-intercept form. So we're going to do it in kind of 4 different ways. We're going to have 4 different kind of sections in this. Kind of building along as we go from kind of a very basic, easy level to a harder and complex, perhaps. So before that, let's get into a cartoon for the day. Here's another. Here's one that's in a school hallway. It says the school's new hall passes proved to be extremely effective in discouraging frivolous trips to the restroom. And the cat is carrying this huge, massive, big poster. I'm missing out on an important educational experience because I have to tinkle. So yeah, that might deter some people from using the bathroom during class. All right, well here we go, getting into our first part for this. Okay, so on this very first section, looking at the extra practices on the top of page 99 in your journal book there, it says write an equation of the line with the given slope and y-intercept. And we're going to be writing these equations in slope-intercept form, which is really the graphable form for a linear function. We were just looking at absolute value functions. We saw there was a vertex form there. That's the graphable form for those. And then y equals mx plus b is the form that's best used for graphing the linear functions, these straight lines on a coordinate plane. So the first thing we're going to look at is just the y equals mx plus b. Let's keep that in front of us. And what we're given here is we're given the 2 things that would fill in our equation here, the slope and the y-intercept. So we know, remember, the slope is the m out of this equation here. M is the slope, so our number for slope will go there. Y-intercept, that is the b. So the y-intercept is always your b. That's your starting point when you're going to graph it. Your slope kind of gives you the directions to get to the next point. So for this first one, if we say, okay, slope is 0, we're going to start with always y equals. So we start off writing out the equation y equals, and then the slope number 0. So 0x, x will always still be in the equation. The m and the b turn to those numbers. And so we got 0x, but now notice I crossed that out because we're not going to actually say 0x. We don't actually say that, so we're really not going to have any x term here in this one at all. Our y-intercept is 9, so that's going to be behind it, plus 9. So the better way to write this would just be y is equal to 9. Let's get rid of this 0x and just say y is equal to 9. That's the equation that's actually in slope-intercept form. It's a horizontal line going straight through 9 on that coordinate plane. All right, number 2, our slope is -1. So we're going to start off again, y equals, and then -1x. So negative 1 is going to go there in front of x, and then y-intercept is 0. Again, we probably wouldn't leave our answer like this. We're not going to leave our equation this way. We're not going to leave it with a 0 back here, and we're certainly not going to leave it with a 1 in front of x. So let's simplify this a little bit. I'm just going to get rid of the 1 and say negative x, and I'm not going to write the 0 at all. I'm just going to say negative x. Y is equal to negative x is the best way to write that equation. It's the simplest way to write it. So that's what we're always trying to, in math, make sure things are always left in their simplest form possible. Number 3, we have our slope of 2, y-intercept of negative 3. So this one, as we say, y is equal to, 2 is m, so the 2x then goes there. Behind that is going to be the y-intercept, which is the negative 3, so minus 3. Now there's nothing to clean up here on this one. So this one actually is ready to go. That's the way we'd want to write our answer. Y is equal to 2x minus 3. Perfectly good slope-intercept form equation. Okay, I'm going to give you a chance now from 4 through 6. Just go ahead and write the slope-intercept form equation. It's going to be more along the lines of number 3 here. You probably shouldn't have to even clean anything up or simplify anything. It should be just like that. So go ahead and pause the video and do 4 through 6. Okay, so hopefully you have your answers for 4 through 6. Let's go ahead and check those. Number 4, you should have y is equal to negative 3x plus 7. Number 5 should be y equals 4x minus 2. And number 6 should be y equals 1/3 x plus 2. So that's where your slope-intercept form equations. You didn't have to simplify anything. Once you just substituted in the slope and the y-intercept to the m and the b, you were done. So this one is definitely going to be the easiest one. It does give us the slope and the y-intercept. The next sections along the way is not going to be so nice. They're not going to give it to us so easily. So let's go on to the next section here. Okay, so right there at the bottom of 99, we have 7 through 12. And on these ones, we've shown the graph. We're going to be doing the same thing as far as writing an equation in the slope-intercept form again. So y equals mx plus b form. But this time they did not tell us exactly what the slope was and the y-intercept was. They showed us the graph, and they're showing us 2 points also on that line. So those 2 points also can be something that might help us definitely figure out the slope and the y-intercept. So the first thing, let's take a look and find the slope for number 7. So for slope, remember, since we're looking at the line, to find the slope given the picture of the line, you just can use the rise over run. So from one point to the other point that they give us, we want to figure out, okay, what's our rise and what's our run? So in this case, it starts down here at negative 1. So our rise is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then our run is going to be going to the left one, negative 1. So we're going to see a negative 4 over 1. Now I actually said 4 over negative 1 when I was actually talking about that. So you can notice that the negative sign doesn't matter if it goes with the top one or the bottom one, because I could have gone this way. I could have gone down 4, which there's my negative 4, and then right 1, positive 1. So it depends on which point you choose to start with first. That's the one. We definitely know this is going downhill. This line is a downhill slope, and because from left to right it's going downhill, that's always going to be a negative slope. Number 8 has an uphill one. That will be a positive slope when we get there. So negative 4 over 1, we can just simplify that to negative 4. That's our slope number, our m. And then our b, the y-intercept is the b. That's always going to be an ordered pair of 0, b. And we're going to see that on every single one of these actually. They actually give us the y-intercept point. They tell us and show us exactly where it's going through the y-axis here. It's at negative 1 right here. And so this is our b, negative 1. So now we can just, once we know our m and our b numbers, we go ahead and plug it in. Y is equal to negative 4x minus 1. So there's our m, negative 4, and our b, negative 1. All right, moving on to number 8. Again, find the slope first. So rise over run. We'll look at the rise over the run for the m. So we're looking to find out what m is. So if I'd start with this point 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to rise 4 and run 2. So that's a 4 over 2. And I can simplify 4 over 2, it's simplified to 2. So that's our slope number is 2. And right here, 0, 0. So 0 is the b, the y-intercept. So our answer then can just be y equals 2x. We could, if we put the plus 0, we don't need to. Remember I did that before. I don't put the plus 0 You don't want to put 0 for a y-intercept, you just don't include it at all. You really just assume it's 0, then at that point it's going through the origin. So y is equal to 2x. That's the simplest way to write that equation. Always want to write them in the simplest form possible. Number 9. All right, I'm going to go ahead and have you try number 9 on your own. Go ahead and see if you can do this one. Go ahead and pause the video and then write the equation for number 9. All right, so for number 9, you found your slope first. Should have been 1, 2, so up 2, and right 2. 2 over 2, which reduces to 1. So our slope is 1. The y-intercept is also 1. And so your equation, you start off with saying y is equal to 1x plus 1, for m being 1. You don't want to leave the 1 there. You'd want to simplify that to just x plus 1. So the best answer would be that y is equal to x plus 1. That's the simplest way to write that one. Number 10, find our slope number first. Depends, we can start from the top and go to the bottom. Let's go ahead and try that. If I did that, I'd start at 5 here. And these are going by 2's, as you can see. So this is 4, that means this is 2. So we can see from 5 to 0, that's 5 units. And then all the way down here, this is at -4. So I got to go 4 more. So that's a full 9 units down. It's a -9. And then we got one box, that's going to be 2, and a half, so it's 3. So -9 over 3 is our slope, and that would reduce to just -3. And then our y-intercept right here, 0, 5. 5 is the y-intercept, and so then our equation is -3x plus 5. I got my negative sign in blue there, so you can see kind of barely there, but it's there. So -3x plus 5. And then number 11. So if we look at number 11, we got 2 points pretty close to each other right here. To find the slope number first, if I start from this point, I'm going to go up. Looks like we're going by 1s here everywhere, yeah. So I'm going by 1s. So this is a 1. So rise is 1, and then run is 2. So it's a 1 over 2. 1/2 is the slope. And then our y-intercept right here, 0, -2. -2 is the b. And so then we write our equation as y is equal to the 1/2 x plus the b. Since b is negative, then we just want to say -2. So y is equal to 1/2 x minus 2. Now if you put plus -2, that's not as simple as you can write that. So I wouldn't write plus -2 here. I know it says y equals or mx plus b, and you could say plus the b, which is -2. But we don't want that. We just want to have one sign there between the x and the number, so simplify it to one sign. All right, I'll give you a chance here, number 12. Go ahead and try this last one here on your own. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can write this last one for number 12. Okay, hopefully you have an answer for 12. So we're looking for our slope first. So we know it's downhill. We know it's going to be a negative slope. So if I go down, this is going to be at 3 here. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go down -3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So -3 over 4, -3/4 is what we could say for our slope. And then our b right here, 0, 3. So 3 is the y-intercept. It's where it's across the y-axis. Right? That's our y-intercept there. Is at 3. And so your answer should say y is equal to the slope, -3/4 x, and then plus 3, because it is positive. So there's our answer for that one. Hopefully you got that one correct. Not yet. All right, sorry about that, but here's our joke of the day. It says, what do you call a duck that steals? What do you call a duck that steals? A robber duck. Not a rubber duck, but a robber duck. Or we can say robber ducky. Robber ducky. All right, our third section here on writing these equations is on the top of page 100, 13 to 18. And what we're doing here is this time it's not giving us the slope and the y-intercept. It's not even giving us the picture of the graph. It's just giving us the 2 points. So 2 points only. So what we could do is we could go ahead and we could graph these 2 points, draw the line through them, and then it's just like the last set of problems that we were just doing, that last section. And we could see the picture at that point. But we don't need to do that to find the slope. That's obviously one option. Another way we can find slope, I mean, rise over run is one way, but then the other way is, like the video said earlier, change in y over change in x. So we could find the change in y over the change in x. To do that, all you have to do is subtract the y's over subtracting the x's. So finding the slope can be very easy. You just subtract the y numbers over subtracting the x numbers from your ordered pairs right here. Obviously we know it's x first, then y on each of these. So we would subtract the -4 and the 4 first on top, and then the 0 and the 8 on the bottom, and then see what we would get once we simplify. So here, let's try that. So starting with m, and we put our fraction bar out here. So subtract the y's first. So y's are going to be the second numbers here in each ordered pair. Now, which one do you start with is maybe a question you might have. Should I start with the first one or should I start with the second one? Well, that actually doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about which one you start with. What you need to worry about is that you start with the same point, both with y's and x's. So I'm going to start with our first point, -4, with that one first. So it's going to be -4 minus, notice it says y minus y. So -4 minus the other y number, which is 4, there. And now when I get to the x's, I need to make sure I start with the same number, or from the same ordered pair that I started with the y's. So since I started with the first point on the y's, I got to start with the first point on the x's. That's the only thing that does matter. If I switched it and started with the second point down here, then that would throw me off and I would get a wrong number or wrong sign perhaps. So I'm going to start with 0. X is 0 there, so 0 minus the other x is 8. And so now I can just simplify this. -4 minus 4, just a little integer addition or subtraction sometimes. So that's going to be -8 over -8 is what we're getting. And negative over negative would actually be positive. Anything over itself is actually going to be +1. So that really simplifies to just 1. So that's our slope number. Okay, so now we know the slope. Now what about the y-intercept? Well, the y-intercept, again, is going to be given to us every single time. That's actually kind of nice, because they could have given us 2 ordered pairs that didn't include the y-intercept, which can be a little bit harder. So in this case, remember the y-intercept is 0, b. So that's our y-intercept. Whatever x is 0, that number here, b, is the y-intercept. So we have 0, -4. -4 is our y-intercept then. That is our b number. And so then we can just go ahead and plug that in. So y equals, and then for the slope it's a 1x, and then it's -4. We don't say plus -4. Remember I talked about that earlier. We're just going to say -4. But we wouldn't want to leave it with this 1x in front. Let's go ahead and clean that up and just say x minus 4. So y is equal to x minus 4. There's our answer. So as you can see, they go maybe a little bit slower just doing it this way because they didn't show us the graph and they didn't give us the numbers right off the bat. All right, number 14. So we start off with finding the slope. Actually, on this one I showed you, there's the b on this one. So 0, -7. There's our y-intercept. We can see that first right there. And then finding the slope, let's go and start with 1 from our first point. So again, I always like starting with the first point. Some people like starting with the second one. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, remember, you got to be consistent. Start with the same point on both y's and x's. So it's 1 minus a -7. So 1 minus, and then the other y number is -7. So we have 2 negatives next to each other. And you should know that when you see that, it's called a double negative. You're going to turn that to a positive. And then down below for the x's, 2 minus 0. So 2 minus the other one, 0. And so we know this is going to become a positive here. It's going to put a plus sign there. So 1 plus 7 is 8 over 2 minus 0 is 2. It's going to be 8 over 2, and we can simplify that to 4. So m is 4 on this one, and the b is -7. And just go ahead and write your answer. Y is equal to 4x minus 7. No simplifying needed there on that one. All right, number 15. So again, we're going to look for slope. So I'm going to start with 0 start with this first point. So I'm going to start with 2. Remember, start with y's over x's. That can be something where you can get confused. If you put x's over y's, you're going to be giving us the wrong slope number. So it's always got to be y's on top. It's the change in y over the change in x. Remember, rise over run. The rise is actually on the y-axis. That's the vertical axis, up and down. So remember that. Y is top. The rise is top. So the change in the y is top. So it's 2 minus 3. 2 minus 3 on top, and it's 0 minus 4 on the bottom. 0 minus 4. So 2 minus 3 is negative 1. 0 minus 4 is negative 4. So negative 1 over negative 4, negative over negative will be positive. So that's really going to be a positive slope of 1/4. And then our b, 0, 2. So 2 is the b. Whenever you can see your ordered pair where x is 0, that's going to be your y-intercept. So there's the b. And then we got y is equal to the slope number, 1/4 x, and then plus 2. Now you might wonder about, well, what if I'm not given this y-intercept as one of our ordered pairs? What do I do then? Well, at that point, you would only be able to write this first part of the equation. You wouldn't know the 2 yet. And so what you could do is you could write it out with, instead of a 2 here, you could put a b as a variable. And then using one of these points here, doesn't matter which one you use, like if I just used my 4 and 3 right here, x is 4, so I could plug in 4 for x right here and go 1/4 times 4, and y is 3, put it here. And now the only letter variable I would have would be the b. And so then I could just solve the equation for b at that point and figure out what the b is. And that's a longer way of doing things. It does take a little more time than them just giving it to us here. But that does happen often, is you're going to have to use that. You have to plug in a point, an x and a y point into this, and leave this as a b momentarily so you can solve for it. All right, number 16. Go ahead and try number 16 on your own. Let's see if you can do this one, and then go ahead and play it after that to check your answer. All right, hopefully you have an answer for this, and let's check to see if you're correct. So looking for slope first, I like to start with the first point, -5 minus -1. -5 minus -1. Now you should have got a double negative there that you're going to want to turn to a positive. Down below we're going to have 0 minus a -4. 0 minus -4. Another double negative situation here. We'll turn both of those to positives. So we're going to put plus in both those spots. And so now we're going to see -5 plus 1, which means we're actually going to take 1 away from -5. It's -4 on top. 0 plus 4 is 4 on the bottom. So -4 over positive 4. 4 over 4 would be 1, but it's -1. So our slope on this one is a -1. And y-intercept, as you can see right here, from 0, -5 is a -5. And so your answer should be y is equal to -x minus 5. If you put -1, you'd want to clean it up a little bit, simplify it to be -x minus 5. Go ahead and try number 17, and then play it and see if you can get this one correct. Alright, so for number 17, let's go ahead and check your slope here. We're going to start off with 0 minus 8, 0 minus the 8, and then it's going to be 8 minus 0 for x's. 8 minus 0. It's very important you get those in the right spots. You know, if you're starting with this first point on the y, you got to start with this first point on the x as well. So you have -8 over positive 8, which is another -1 slope, just like our last one. And then this one, 0, 8, 8 is the y-intercept there. So it's going to be y is equal to, let's make sure you get this right, don't put -1, just put -x. So y is equal to -x plus 8. Go ahead and try 18 now, see if you can do this one correctly. Okay, hopefully you paused that video and now you're checking your answer for 18. So for 18, our b is right there, it's 3, so that's the first thing. You might want to notice that first. It's okay to notice it first or after it, doesn't matter. But we know our y-intercept there is 3 waiting for us after we find slope now. So I'm going to start actually with 3 minus a -5. So it's going to be 3 minus -5. So another double negative, we'll turn that to positive. On the bottom we're going to put 0 minus a 2. So 0 minus 2. And so we're going to make that a plus there. So it's going to be 3 plus 5. We're going to see 8 on the top. And this is going to be -2 on the bottom. 8 over -2. And we'll simplify that to a -4. So -4 is our slope number. That's our m. And 3 is our b. So your answer should be y is equal to -4x plus 3. So there's our answer for that one. Alright, we have one more section to go through, like these, and then we'll be just about done. Alright, so our last section, 19 to 24, right there, also on page 100. This one actually is very similar to the last section. It's just written out a little bit differently. It's kind of more written function notation. So it says f of 0 is equal to -5 and f of 4 is equal to -3. We're still trying to write a linear function, slope-intercept form. But really what we need to recognize here is that these two things here are two ordered pairs. So basically the inside here, inside the parenthesis, is your x. So that's your x, and it equals the y. -5 would be the y. So 4 is x, and -3 would be y. So you can best to just write these out as ordered pairs. 0, -5 for this first one, 4, -3 for that second one. So that just puts it out into ordered pairs just like we were just doing. So basically it's just like the ones that we just had done. And so we'd find our slope from these, and so you're going to do -5 minus -3. That's a double negative, so we can make that positive, and then 0 minus 4 on the bottom. And then this is going to end up being taking 3 away from -5. That's -2 over -4. Negative over negative is positive, and that's going to simplify to 1/2. So 1/2 there, and then we have again 0, -5 right here. This -5 is our y-intercept, and so your answer there is just y is equal to 1/2 x minus 5. Now at 20, we can see it's going to be -5 for x, +5 for y, 0, 10 on the other one, and then we just do the same thing for the other one. And so that's going to be slope first. So if we start off with 5 minus 10 on top, and then the bottom is -5 minus 0, and 5 minus 10 is -5, and -5 is also going to be on the bottom. So -5 over -5 will be +1. Our y-intercept is right here from 0, 10, 10 is the y-intercept. So we're just going to put x plus a 10. So y is equal to x plus 10. There's our answer. Number 21, again for this one, 0, 5 for the first one, 9, -4 for the second one. 0, 5, 9, -4. So to find the slope, there's our b again. Don't forget about that. 0, 5 is our b. So 5 is our b. And so finding the slope, 5 minus a -4, that's double negative, so we can turn it to positive, and then 0 minus 9 on the bottom, and so that's going to give us a +9 on top, -9 on the bottom, so that's going to be -1 to simplify that, 9 over -9, and so our answer for this one will be, remember, -x, not -1x, -x plus the 5, so -x plus 5. Alright, go ahead and pause the video and do the bottom three here, 22 to 24. Do those on your own, and then we'll just go through them quick and check your answers. Alright, hopefully you have answers for these three now. We'll just quickly go through them. So there's our ordered pairs for those two, and make sure you got those ordered pairs correct. Your slope is there. We have a double negative on the top. And then that's going to end up being 14 over -7. Our slope is -2. So it's going to be a -2x plus 10 for your answer. Y is equal to that. 23, our two ordered pairs up on top there. And so finding our slope, we're going to see -2 minus 2 on the top, and then -2 minus 0 on the bottom. It's a 0 actually there. An ugly one, but it's a 0. And so it's going to be -4 on the top, -2 on the bottom, and that will simplify to a +2. And so it's going to be a 2x, and then your y-intercept is 2, so 2x plus 2. Y is equal to 2x plus 2 for 23. And then 24, our last one here, 0, 16, and a 2, 8 are the two ordered pairs. And for your slope, 16 minus 8 on top, 0 minus 2 on the bottom, and that's a 2. I'm not sure what happened to the top of the 2, but that's supposed to be a 2. For 16 minus 8, that is 8, so it's 8 over -2, and that simplifies to a -4. So there's your slope, -4, and your y-intercept is a 16 on this one, 0, 16. So your answer there should be y is equal to -4x plus 16. So my negative's up here, it is -4x plus 16. Alright, so we do have just one more to look at. That's number 25 on the very bottom of 100. So let's go and just take a look at that, and we'll be done. Now before we look at our last one, number 25, let's read through this. A linear model. This is one of the vocabularies. I believe it's probably back there on an earlier page. You don't need to write this down, but let's go and read through this. together. A linear model is a linear function that models a real-life situation when a quantity y changes at a constant rate with respect to a quantity x. You can use the equation y equals mx plus b to model the relationship. The value of m is the constant rate of change, and the value of b is the initial or starting value of y. So it's everything we've already kind of learned, just now put into a real-life situation, and we can use this model of y equals mx plus b kind of to help us figure this out. So again, m would be a value that's going to change. It's a constant rate of change. But b is always your starting point. Remember, when we're going to graph these, b is always the starting point. It's the initial value. It's the initial amount, perhaps, sometimes. So we'll go ahead and see that in just a second when we look at 25. All right, so here's 25. An electrician charges an initial fee of $50 and $190 after 4 hours of work. Letter A wants us to write a linear model that represents the total cost as a function of the number of hours worked. And then B wants us to figure out how much does the electrician charge per hour. So here's what we will do. We can look at it in like 2 points, 2 initial points here. So obviously we have our initial fee right here. So the initial fee is the y-intercept, it is the b. And remember, that's always going to be when you haven't worked yet at all. So before any hours of work, you're going to pay $50. That's a flat rate fee. And so you can say, you could start off with this ordered pair, 0, 50. So that's going to be our y-intercept, the initial fee. Okay? But then we have another one here, $190 after 4 hours of work. So in this case, the x in this is going to be the amount of hours that we're working, and then the y is going to be the total cost of how much somebody's going to pay the electrician. So the electrician works so many hours, he makes this much money. And so if he works 4 hours, he makes $190. That's including the 50. So the other ordered pair would be, this could be our x, 4, and 190 would be our y. So 4, 190. So using those 2 ordered pairs, we can do the same thing we've been doing and find our slope. So we look for our slope here. So using y equals mx plus b, we'll fill it in eventually. Our b, first of all, we know is 50, but then slope, we're going to start off with 50 minus 190 on top, and then 0 minus 4 on the bottom. Well, 50 minus 190, that's going to give us 140, or negative 140, over negative 4. And so we reduce that, and we find that that equals 35. So it's a positive number. It should be a positive number because, you know, we're going to see it's a slope number is an amount of money. Money's going to want to be positive. So using this as our m, 35, and this is our b, 50. Let's go ahead and plug it in. So y equals 35x plus 50. So there's our answer to A. We wrote a linear model that expressed the total cost, which would be y is our total cost, of a function for the number of hours worked. That's our x. X is the number of hours worked. So if we were to work 4 hours, if I plug in 4 here, 4 times 35 would give me 140, and then I add 50 to that, that gets me to that 190. So you can see how that would work. We can check that for any amount of hours. So we want to now look for how much does the electrician charge per hour. So every hour, this 35 is the per hour rate. That's the constant rate of change. That's how much he's charging per hour. So if you plug in 1 here, you're going to get, for 1 hour, he's going to be putting this. So how much does he charge per hour? It's not including the flat rate fee here, 50. Even though after 1 hour, somebody's going to pay 35 plus 50. But then after that, they're going to pay only $35 more. And then $30 more after that for the next hour, and so on. So for per hour, how much does he charge per hour? That's the 35. Your slope is that number. So it's $35 per hour on this one. All right, so that concludes 4.1, and I'll see you on the next one, 4.2. Have a great day.